Hello, you're watching ITV News Meridian in the southeast.
Tonight's headlines this Monday evening. The number of people dying on roads in Kent and Sussex reaches a new high. We investigate what's going wrong as one woman tells us about the crash that changed her life.
I remember seeing the car pull out in front of me and braking. I don't remember anything after that, but I did wake up when I was still in the car with my seatbelt on, upside down.
Under strain with more ambulance strikes this week, there's calls for CCAM to recruit more staff to prevent another critical incident.
Also tonight, Glyndebourne on tour, the famous Sussex opera that prides itself on taking the arts to a wider audience and why it's having to change.
And in sport, after winning the World Cup, could Alexis McAllister now lead Brighton all the way in the FA Cup? Good evening. A woman who had to learn to walk again after being seriously injured in a car crash is calling on others to do the right thing and not take risks behind the wheel.
New figures shared with ITV News Meridian show a rise in fatal road accidents in Kent and Sussex, up 35% since 2019. Senior police officers say it's down to poor driver behaviour and they're stepping up efforts to catch those breaking the law. Kit Bradshaw reports.
I remember seeing the car pull out in front of me and braking. I don't remember anything after that. My car kind of flew over the top, rolled a couple of times, landed on its roof.
The horror of that split-second moment still fresh in the memory for Vicky Bates from Tunbridge Wells. 5 years after the car crash, which left her with serious injuries and another driver dead.
I broke my neck in 3 places, punctured my lung, ruptured my liver, broke my coccyx, broke my patella, my fibula tibula. My left leg has now got a metal rod, my neck has a metal plate and 2 screws.
Vicky spent 3 months in hospital where she learnt to walk again. She'll likely need regular physio and medication for life.
It just has had a huge impact on me, my future, what I had planned for my future, career-wise, family-wise. It's affected all of my loved ones and the people close to me.
Investigations found the other motorist who died was likely over the drink-drive limit at the time.
It's not worth it. And sometimes people say, well, I don't care. If I crash, I don't care. But it might not be you that's the problem. It could be what you do to somebody else. And I just think it was just so unnecessary. Don't do it.
Kent's Roads Policing Unit allowed us to join them on an early morning patrol to see firsthand their work targeting those putting lives at risk. Within seconds of joining the M20 near Maidstone in an unmarked patrol car, something catches the attention of PC Neil Baker.
He's on his phone straight away. What was that? How many seconds was that?
A van driver clutching his mobile phone is signalled to follow us off at the next exit.
He said, he was using his mobile phone and he was trying to pop it in the door pocket. So yeah, he's admitted to using it and knows he shouldn't.
And he's been dealt with for the offence?
Yeah, he likely will get 6 points and £200 fine.
Back on patrol, this time on the A2, it's not long before another driver catches our attention.
He already is speeding. So now he's just undertaken a van. So I've recorded your speed at 86 and then there was the undertake, which was the main thing for me. As soon as you'd come up behind that van, you gave him about 5 seconds and then you undertook him.
Police figures obtained by ITV News Meridian show that 4 years ago in 2019, 84 people were killed in road accidents in Kent and Sussex. That fatality figure has risen every year since, despite the on-off lockdown restrictions of 2020 and 2021. Last year, 115 people lost their lives on our region's roads, an increase of 35% over 4 years.
We still are seeing a worrying amount of drivers that are taking unnecessary risks, drivers that think it's acceptable to drive a vehicle whilst impaired through drink or alcohol or drugs, drivers that think it's acceptable to drive whilst distracted from mobile phones, failing to wear seat belts or driving simply too fast for the road conditions.
The leading causes of deaths on our roads, known as the fatal four, are not wearing your seatbelt, using your mobile phone, drink or drug driving and speeding. All offences that roads policing officers are looking out for. In Sittingbourne, PC Baker's speed gun clocks 3 vehicles doing over 40 miles per hour in a 30 zone.
We're using a variety of tactics, marked and unmarked vehicles. We're working with the Speed Camera Partnership to deploy mobile vans and using fixed camera sites. We're doing everything we can to reduce the amount of fatalities on Kent's roads.
Vicky has recently become a mother for the first time, but has had to move to a new home as she struggles using stairs. And how would you sum up the impact that the accident has had on your life?
Oh, it's massively changed my life forever. You know, I can't walk as far as I used to be able to. My job's changed, my career path has changed, my whole thoughts on life has changed. And it is something that will be with me now for the rest of my life.
Doctors say Vicky will likely need to use a wheelchair by the time she's 60. A life irreversibly altered and one of many affected by the deadly decisions of those taking needless risks on the roads.
Well, Kit is in our newsroom for us this evening. Kit, shocking figures in your report there. What's thought to be behind the rise in road deaths in recent years?
For decades, the number of deaths on roads nationally has been falling dramatically since their high point in the 1970s. That wasn't until around 2010 when that year-on-year decline began to flatline. And road safety campaigners say they're gravely concerned by that. The head of the road safety charity Break told me it was a major catastrophe that authorities across the country were only now waking up to. But Mary Williams told me that it's up to all of us to take some responsibility for road safety.
We need to be playing our part as individuals within that and putting safety first. And primarily that means slowing down. And of course it means not drinking, not taking drugs, making sure that we take regular rests and belting up. These are such simple messages that we all know and understand. And ultimately, so many of us think, well, it won't be me in a collision. I won't be causing that crash or I won't get hurt. Well, that's not the reality on roads. It could be any of us any day, and it could be a member of our own families.
Authorities in the South East have been setting quite ambitious road safety targets in recent years, including in Kent and parts of Sussex, where they've adopted a strategy called Vision Zero to try to reduce fatalities on the roads to as close to zero as possible. So officials will undoubtedly be concerned by these figures, which appear to show that that effort is going in exactly the opposite direction. And of course, that is despite a whole host of car safety technologies being added to modern vehicles, but as you were hearing in my report, in many cases it comes down to driver behaviour and the willingness for some vehicle drivers to take risks with their own lives and also with the lives of other road users.
OK, Kit, for now, thank you.
More of the day's news now, and a man has been arrested on suspicion of drug driving after a pedestrian was injured in North Chailey in Sussex. A woman was seriously injured in the collision involving two cars on the A272 at North Chailey at 7 o'clock this morning. A man was arrested at the scene and remains in custody this evening.
Police say a tawny owl has been killed with catapults in Upchurch near Sittingbourne. They want to speak to these two men seen on CCTV. The Rural Task Force wants anyone who can help identify them to get in touch. The owl was killed last October.
The M20 is now free-flowing in both directions after the Operation Brock barrier was removed. It had been put in place to help manage the weight of traffic, both freight and tourist, ahead of the Christmas holidays. The Kent Resilience Forum that looks after the through routes to the ports and Eurotunnel says it's possible it will have to be redeployed, though, to cope with the volume of traffic this summer ahead of the holidays.
Now, planned strikes by healthcare workers will go ahead after talks between trade unions and the government broke down. The South East Coast Ambulance Service is among those taking industrial action on Wednesday.
Well, Sarah Saunders is outside an ambulance preparation centre in Ashford for us tonight. Sarah, just how much pressure are our ambulance services under here in the South East?
Well, Seacam has registered some of its worst ever response times in the last 12 months as it struggles to cope with demand. And so far in this winter period, over 400 people have had to wait in ambulances outside A&Es for over an hour in Kent, waiting to be admitted. All of that meant that in December, Seacam announced a critical incident. Now, the Lib Dem parliamentary campaign for Lewis is calling for an emergency recruitment drive.
We're seeing hospital beds overcrowded, there aren't enough spaces in hospitals, and when people get there, they're not being discharged quickly enough. And that means that ambulance turnaround times aren't as fast as they could be, and we have an overall staffing problem where we've not got enough paramedics, but we've also not got enough people working in mental health, GPs, people working in hospitals. So there are widespread problems in the NHS that are leading to some of these problems we're seeing in the ambulance service.
Well, Seacam told us there has been an increase in overall ambulance staff and in paramedic numbers in the last 7 years, but says it recognises the need to recruit and retain more ambulance crews. But today, after talks broke down, unions remain in conflict with the government over pay. So what's the government going to do? Well, this is what it's come up with in the short term. So, among other things, more use of virtual wards. If you're wondering what that is, it means you'll receive clinical care, but at home. Also, ministers announced that they plan to block book 2,500 residential beds in order to discharge people from hospitals, trying to relieve pressure on hospitals and ambulance staff.
Today's announcement provides a further £250 million of funding, which recognises that the spike in flu, on top of COVID admissions, on top of high delayed discharge numbers from the pandemic, will provide immediate support to reduce hospital bed occupancy and decompress A&E pressures, and in turn unlock much needed ambulance handovers.
Well, as things stand, the strike planned for Wednesday then will go ahead. Unions from the ambulance service say life and limb cover will be in place.
Sarah, thank you. You're watching ITV News in the Meridian region. Thank you for your company this Monday evening. Still on the way, we'll be finding out about the benefits of exercise for people living with Parkinson's, improving balance, but also a chance to get together.
And Andrew's here with all the sports. Could the big question, could World Cup winner Alexis McAllister now lead Brighton all the way to the FA Cup?
And remember, for more news from right across the southeast, please go to our website, itv.com/Meridian. Why not call us? The number's on your screen now, and you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter and on Instagram.
Next, the Glyndebourne Opera House in Sussex says it can no longer afford to take its productions on tour around the country. It blames a 50% cut in funding.
The Arts Council says it's had to make difficult spending decisions, but overall subsidy of the arts across our region has increased by almost £4 million. With more, Malcolm Shaw.
Since 1968, Glyndebourne has been taking productions like this from its opera house in Sussex out on tour to towns and cities across the country. But now it says it can no longer afford to do so. The funding it received from the Arts Council has been reduced by 50%.
Touring was already financially quite challenging, and we'd been absorbing losses from touring for many years. Happy to do so because it was helping us to fulfil our mission to enrich as many people's lives as possible through opera. But with the funding halved, and it's a very dramatic cut, it really meant that there was no other option other than to stop touring and think, well, how do we double down on other things?
The Arts Council says it's had to make difficult decisions on which projects to fund with fierce competition. Arts Council England say we have a package of support available to organisations offered reduced levels of funding to help them adapt. They say we've increased investment in touring opera at the small and mid-scale size, and they go on, opera will continue to receive 40% of our overall investment in music. Glyndebourne says touring has been a vital part of its work, bringing opera to a wider audience at lower cost and fostering new talent.
My first ever job was assisting as an assistant conductor at Glyndebourne, and then you kind of work your way up through the ranks, and then I spent 3 years as the chief conductor of the tour, working with other kind of young artists who were just starting out. So for me, it's sort of everything, and I don't think I'd have any career if it weren't for Glyndebourne Tour.
Arts Council England says that overall its funding across our region has increased by £3.9 million per year, with almost 140 organisations benefiting. Glyndebourne says its festival from May to August will go ahead as usual, with a revised programme for the autumn, but taking performances out on tour will be sorely missed. Malcolm Shaw, ITV News, Glyndebourne.
A drug dealer caught with large quantities of cannabis and around £8,000 of cash at its home in Ashford has been jailed. 9 mobile phones, a machete and 3 smaller knives were also found in the property in Pound Lane. Craig Wharton, who's 36, has been sentenced to more than 3 years in jail.
Wealdon Council in Sussex says the beach at Burling Gap will remain closed due to recent rockfalls. The National Trust facilities there and clifftop walks are still open, but visitors are reminded to stay well away from the cliff edge. And the ITV Evening News, of course, continues with the national and international news at 6:30. With the details this evening is Charlene White.
Coming up, Prince Harry takes aim at Camilla in a fresh round of TV interviews. After accusing the Queen Consort of leaking stories on ITV last night, he's now called Camilla a villain with a dangerous relationship with the press. We have all the reaction. Also ahead, no end in sight for the strikes, the latest on talks between the unions and the government. Plus, eyes to the skies, why Cornwall is set to make European space history tonight. Join us for all that and more from 6:30.
Now, we all know the benefits regular exercise can have on our health, but for those living with Parkinson's disease, it could mean slowing down their symptoms.
A physiotherapist from Sussex says dancing in particular can improve balance and posture and stimulate the brain. It also gives people the chance to get together, boosting their mental health. Here's Amrit Birdie.
Tapping feet along to the beat isn't as easy as you might think when you live with Parkinson's. But this group practices weekly, meeting not just to dance, but also for stretching, for boxing, and most importantly, for laughing together. Group leader Wendy Barnett was diagnosed with Parkinson's in 2018. She says the impact dancing has had on her life, and as a result, the lives of those she teaches, has been astounding.
I've danced for at least 25 years, and for me, that has saved me. I have no balance issues. I love it. I feel I can go do my dancing. I don't have to worry about whether I get it wrong. It doesn't matter. They know now through research that dancing and at least 2.5 hours of exercise a week, targeted towards the stiffness, the rigidity, the tremors, does make a difference, and it slows the progression. So it's worth doing it.
According to charity Parkinson's UK, Parkinson's is the fastest growing neurological condition in the world. 1 in 37 people alive in the UK today will be diagnosed with Parkinson's in their lifetime, with the vast majority diagnosed aged over 50. And more men than women will get Parkinson's. Currently, there is no medical cure. But specialists like Anne Breen Khan, who works in Hove, say the benefits of exercise for Parkinson's patients are numerous.
You're having to think about changes in direction with tempo, music, walking backwards, walking forwards, strategies to anticipate balance. So those are things that dance can really help with. Studies have shown that they affect a good improvement in mood, anxiety, pain, sleep is better. Obviously, dance also has the social aspects of integrating with other people.
Those living with the condition often report feeling isolated, anxious and even depressed. Those at Wendy's class say the community and acceptance the group brings is vital.
We think because we got Parkinson's we've got to hide, and we haven't. We've got to come out, accept it for what it is.
It's the highlight of my week. I love coming down, and people in the classes have become close friends.
Experts say there is much more research to be done into the link between exercise and Parkinson's. But in the meantime, this lot is going to keep on dancing. Amrit Birdie, ITV News.
Let's talk about sport now. Andrew joins us in the studio. And I guess, Andrew, the magic of the FA Cup, we always say it, but it is still alive and well.
It's definitely alive and well. I mean, the results were mixed, but I tell you what, for Brighton and Gillingham fans, it was a weekend to remember. And for Albion, the dream goes on. A fantastic performance with Argentinian World Cup star Alexis McAllister turning on the style means Brighton have a great tie to look forward to, with a fourth round draw meaning they'll be hosting Liverpool or Wolves. That match at the Amex taking place at the end of the month, thanks to Alexis and his chums.
Zero Accounting Software sponsors ITV Regional Sports Report.
World Cup winner Alexis McAllister's back with a bang. A brilliant finish, followed up by a simple second, helping Brighton cruise into the fourth round. Albion showing they're not missing former manager Graham Potter at all.
Gillingham might currently be sitting at the foot of the Football League, but they gave their Premier League opponents a scare, at times matching Leicester City. Gill's new owner, Brad Gallinson, described his team as playing with heart and soul, and his new side couldn't be broken down until deep into the second half. The focus now for boss Neil Harris, staying in the Football League.
I asked the players on Thursday, put aside where we are, we don't forget, but we enjoy Thursday, Friday and Saturday, and we have, and we've enjoyed the last 48 hours and today. Great effort by everybody, but it's now about moving forward.
There's no match for Crawley Town this weekend, but they may be close to naming their new manager. The Red Devils have been looking for a boss after Matthew Everington left just 32 days into the job. Now reports suggest Scott Lindsay could be coming in. The former Chatham Town manager is currently with Swindon. Reports suggesting the clubs are trying to reach an agreement over compensation. Whoever comes in, let's all aim for more than 32 days in charge.
You're right.
Yes.
Andrew, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, let's get the weather now with all the details. We have James Wright.
Feels like home, whatever the weather. Valent Boilers and Heat Pumps sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
Hello there, good evening. Not a bad start to the week. Some nice bright weather around, a little bit breezy, but brace yourself for what's set to be a soaker. Lots of wet weather around tomorrow. Second dose tomorrow evening, then a little bit of a break before lots of showers later on in the day on Wednesday. And if I move out the way, that looks like it's going to be Thursday's wet weather. Of course, the ground is very sodden at the moment. Plenty of standing water in fields in various parts of the patch. So it looks as though we might have to keep an eye out for flooding issues. Back to tonight though, cool at first, chilly in fact, but then slowly the temperatures will rise through the latter half of the overnight period, and that's the sign that front is starting to head in our direction. So these are the temperatures in the middle of the night before they start to rise. Through tomorrow then, a grey start, then it's going to be wet. Quite a long spell of wet weather, and as you can see, some pretty heavy doses in there. A little bit unusual for a warm front. In behind that is some very humid air, so expect to see more drizzly outbreaks. If you're lucky, the strong wind will help to chop up the cloud to give us the odd bright spell, but I suspect it'll be fleeting. That mild source of air getting us up to 12 or 13 Celsius. Might not feel it, particularly on that south coast there. You've got some strong blustery winds. And then you've got the second dose of wet weather moving through overnight. So a double dose tomorrow. There are your high times for tomorrow, just after midnight tonight for Dover, and then lunchtime tomorrow. What happens next then? Dry start to the day on Wednesday, plenty more showers lined up for later on in the day, and then it looks as though Thursday, another soaker, plenty of fronts crossing some parts of the UK.
Valent sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
Just before we go this evening, just time to tell you about something coming up on tomorrow night's programme. We're going to be talking to the cast and the director of a new film called Empire of Light. It was shot in Margate, and it's all about love, it's about friendship, and it's about the magic of the big screen.
It was written and directed by Bond director Sam Mendes, and he said the seaside town was the perfect setting for the movie with its Art Deco cinema. It also stars Michael Ward, Colin Firth, Toby Jones and Olivia Colman is the lead.
Well, I'd actually said yes before I'd read it. So I know it's just not what you should do.
You could have backed out of it. You could have got out of it.
Probably could have done. But when it was sent to me and I read it, and I was, oh, thank God, it's not rubbish. And
high praise indeed.
Looks like fun. Well, the cast and crew of Empire of Lights in Margate for a special screening of the film. Tomorrow we're going to tell you which other town in our region also features in it.
And we'll give you a clue now. It's somewhere in Sussex, but really looking forward to that. And, you know, lots of our viewers will remember because parts of the town, Margate, were taken over. So we finally get to see what they were doing. Very exciting.
Proper stars as well, which is nice. So that's on the programme tomorrow. That's it from us for the time being. The ITV Evening News, of course, is coming up very soon. I'm back with a late update at about 10 to 11 this evening.
But from all of us here, thank you for watching. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.